Hello. Thank you for taking the time to learn about kidney transplant with us today. We hope that this video will answer a question many patients have. How long until I get a kidney transplant? There are many factors that contribute to how long you will wait for a kidney. These include whether you have a living donor, how long you have been on dialysis, your blood type, and your antibody levels. It may sound complicated, but let's break it down together. Kidneys for transplant can come from two sources. Let's talk about living donors first. Living donation is when a kidney from a friend or a family member is put into your body. There are lots of advantages to having a kidney transplant from a living donor. First, the time you wait for a transplant is much shorter, and you can schedule the surgery ahead of time. Live donor kidneys tend to last longer, and they usually work better. If you know someone who wants to learn more about being a living donor for you, have them contact our team directly. Second, another source for transplant is from a deceased donor. This is when a healthy kidney is donated by someone who has died. If you don't have a living donor, you will need to join a waiting list for a deceased donor kidney. There is a wait list for deceased donor kidneys because there are fewer kidneys available than the number of people who need transplants. This waitlist is managed by an organization that is part of the Government of Ontario, called the Trillium Gift of Life Network, or TGLN. TGLN makes sure that the waiting list is fair and uses the system based on priority and points to decide who should get a kidney first. For most patients, the most important factors that decide your wait time are your blood type, your antibody levels, and your time on dialysis. First, let's talk about blood type. There are 4 blood types: A, B, AB, and O. You inherit your blood type from your parents. For the purpose of the waiting list, you only get kidneys of the same blood type as your own. The waiting time is different for different blood types. Type A and AB patients will wait on average 2 to 5 years, Type B 6 to 8 years, and Type O 5 to 7 years. Remember that the number of deceased donor kidneys available is much fewer than the number of people who need transplants, and this is much more so the case for some blood types compared to others. Let's look at another factor affecting wait time, your antibody levels. Antibodies are a part of your immune system. Think of them as little flags that mark any cells that are not your own as foreign, so that they can be eaten up by your immune system. If bacteria or viruses enter your body, having antibodies helps you fight against getting an infection. But what happens when another person's cells enters your system? You might get exposed to another person's cells due to having blood transfusions, from being pregnant, or from having a previous transplant. When any of these happen, your body recognizes the foreign human cell by a protein called human leukocyte antigen, or HLA. Every person's HLA is different. It's part of what makes you you. Your immune system will make antibodies against the foreign human HLA. As part of your transplant workup, you will do a blood test called Calculated Panel Reactive Antibodies, or CPRA. This test measures how many antibodies you have developed against other people's HLA. It is scored as a percentage. The higher the number, the more antibodies you have against the general population of available kidneys. If we give you one of the kidneys that you have antibodies against, there's a very high likelihood that you will reject it immediately and it wouldn't work for you. Let's look at an example of CPRA. If your CPRA is 95%, that means out of 100 kidneys available, you have antibodies against 95 kidneys, but 5 of them will be a match for you. Antibody levels do change over time. For example, if you get a blood transfusion, your antibody levels may increase. Once you're approved for transplant, you will need to recheck your CPRA every 3 months. Your dialysis unit will collect your blood and do this test for you. The final factor that determines your wait time to kidney transplant is the number of days you've been on dialysis. Like we mentioned before, TGLN uses a point system to organize the waiting list. This is called allocation points. The higher your allocation points, the higher you are on the waiting list. Here's how it works. You get points for the number of days you have been on dialysis, 0.1 points for every 30 days. You also get points based on your CPRA. We take your CPRA as a number and divide it by 100 and then multiply that by 4. Next, we can add the two sections together, the number of days you've been on dialysis and the CPRA, and you get a total number of allocation points. Let's look at an example. David recently completed his workup and was clear for listing on the provincial kidney transplant waiting list. He started dialysis 2 years ago. For every 30 days he spent on dialysis, he accumulates 0.1 points. This system makes sure that the waiting list is fair for all patients. For example, if you were referred for transplant later, or your workup process took a little bit longer, you still get credit for all the time you spent on dialysis. In David's case, he has 2.4 points for the time he's already spent on dialysis. David also has a CPRA of 75%, which we'll divide by 100 for 0.75, multiply that by 4, and he gets another 3 points for CPRA. Remember, a higher CPRA means it is harder to find a matching kidney. That's why people with higher CPRA get more points so they can have a better chance of finding a match. So when you put it all together, David has a total of 5.4 points. David is blood type O, so he will join the wait list for that blood type. As David continues on dialysis, he will gradually gain allocation points over time and move up on the list until he's at the top of the list and is offered a matching kidney. In summary, waiting time for a deceased donor kidney transplant is determined by your blood type, your antibody levels, or CPRA, and your time on dialysis. First, remember, certain blood types wait longer than others for a kidney, depending on how many kidneys are available and how many people need them. Second, the higher your antibody levels, the harder it is to find a matching kidney. That's why people with higher antibody levels or higher CPRA get more allocation points. Finally, you get allocation points for the number of days since you started dialysis. If you want to find out more about potential ways that you might be able to reduce your waiting time, please check out our other video with the link in the description below. If you have any questions about what was talked about in this video today, don't hesitate to contact us or check out our website. Thanks for watching.